Okay, hi guys, can you hear me? I'm audible? If yes, or even if it is no, just you can join game first, right? I hope I'm audible. Okay, so you can join the game. All right, so as of now 4 players are here. So join as soon as possible. I can see 26-27 people in the live chat, but only 20 people are here. By the way, for your kind information, I can tell you this quiz is entirely based on the Kubernetes section. So if you have gone through with the last video, maybe once or twice or thrice, then you will be able to answer the question. So this is entirely based on the last session. Okay, so anyway, I can see here only 22. Okay, so in 30 seconds I'm starting this game. So I can see here 23 all equal. So out of around 40 people or 40 email address you have given. Just now 25. So I can see here. Okay, so let's start this game now. Alright, so here is the first question in the screen. But okay, you know what, there is some problem, and the problem is that I need to make this quiz. I think we have only 30-second timeout, and there is a time delay of 30 seconds. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to, I think we cannot play this game because I have only 30 seconds timer. What I remember is, okay, so we'll play it tomorrow. Okay, fine. I think you are understanding my point. We'll play tomorrow because this game, right, this game has only 30 seconds per question. I can just try. If I'll try like this, so you can check it. Yes, only 30 seconds time we have. Let's see. See, only 6 or 10, 13 people are able to answer. Okay, so is it timing out? I mean, just tell me on the chat window. 30 seconds is not enough, right? Just tell me here in the chat window. 30 seconds is not enough, I believe. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I get it, I get it. Oh, great. Definitely. So what we'll do, we'll play this game tomorrow. I'll make it 60 second. Okay, fine, we'll play tomorrow. Let's close this game for now. I think we got first question, so I don't know, but please you have to watch this video. If you're not watching it, you won't be able to, you know, play that. So how you get the access of the video? Just go to this channel and then go to videos, and then you get the first video here, and it's private now. You will be only able to access this once you have logged in from the same email address that you given to me, because only those email addresses are allowed to access this. Although I'm also sharing this one in the chat. Okay, this is the day 1 Kubernetes. Okay, I hope you are understanding it. Anyway, so okay, now the big point is I just forget everything that what we actually had. So till what time we have covered? So did we talk about Kubernetes cluster anymore? How we're gonna install it? Kubernetes cluster installation we did by Minikube. So did I show the installation of Kubernetes cluster by Minikube? Maybe I would have talked about it can use VMware. Yes, I think it can use VirtualBox. It can also use Docker. Alright, so please reply in the chat window that I have already discussed that how to install, yes, Minikube using Docker. And the way I might have told you is very simple. So this is my Minikube start -- driver is equals to Docker. Okay, so it is starting my Minikube cluster automatically. Okay, alright, so every time you just shut down your OS, start your cluster likewise. And if you are using VirtualBox and VMware, you can use --VM driver. Okay, this option you can check it from Google. By the way, let me know how many of you have Kubernetes a Minikube cluster up and running. So how many of you having the cluster up and running? Minikube start. So tell me, how many have you installed Minikube based Kubernetes cluster? So for Pius it's upon VM. For VirtualBox, Harsh also have upon VirtualBox. Great. So whosoever, if you have installed it on either VirtualBox or Docker or VMware, that's really amazing. Great guys, you are awesome. You all are awesome, right? So I'm just waiting. And once you start, you don't have to use --driver every time. Just use start command. It will take some time to connect. Let's take it. Okay, now if we have Kubernetes cluster ready, right, Kubernetes cluster ready running here. Okay, then how to connect? Okay, how to connect your Kubernetes cluster? Okay, so to connect your Kubernetes cluster, you guys need to have some client. Okay, it's very same way like in case of Docker engine. We have a client machine where we have installed Docker. Why it is so slow? Let me just discard and up it again. Okay, so the way we accessed Docker, if you remember that fact, so we configured Docker TCP socket, and from our own personal PC or laptop we have connected by using Docker CLI, and we also used Portainer. So that means we have two ways: command line interface and web UI, right? I hope you remember that fact. Now to access your Kubernetes cluster, you have to figure out which one is your Kubernetes master node, and even in the master node you have to only think about the service that is Kube API server. I don't know how many of you remember the same fact that Kube API server was the endpoint. So you can connect to Kube API server by using two methods, again by CLI or by web UI. Okay, so for web UI we'll be using some tool like Portainer, although Portainer is not the one, but we'll use some tool. But from CLI, so you can install command line interface called Kubectl. It's a kubectl or Kubectl. That is a Kubernetes client, command line client, and this Kubectl client can connect to your Kubernetes master. So whatever you are going to do, you are going to use kubectl. So in short, there are three cases. If your Kubernetes is running on AWS cloud, that is one thing. Second, if your Kubernetes is running using Minikube. Okay, so if it is Minikube, then Minikube is running in your local system. This is you in your local system. So in this same machine you can install kubectl. Now kubectl can be installed in your Linux based machine, in your Windows based machine, and in your Mac based machine, anywhere, right? And this kubectl you can use from your CMD, from your PowerShell, and from your terminal. Okay, CMD, PowerShell, and terminal. You can just connect it from anywhere. In case of Amazon cloud based Kubernetes cluster, you don't have to go to the master or worker or minion nodes. What you have to do, you have to take your own computer, or I can say PC, and you can install here kubectl command. Then from here itself you can connect to Kubernetes API server. Okay, so your Amazon cloud will give you list of some username password that you have to store in this machine. But in case of Minikube is already storing its username password in your local system. So I'm starting with this, but I'll show you that case as well, so that you can have exposure of both scenario: local Minikube for developers and Minikube for cloud as well. Okay, so if you get the concept or the idea, exact thing is, by using Minikube or by using AWS based cloud or any Kubernetes, if you want to do some action on Kubernetes cluster, the client side tool you need is kubectl or kubectl, whatever you say. So if you are understanding this without any problem, just say yes in chat window. That means yes, you are getting it, right? So what is the client side software is? That is kubectl or kubectl, right? So type yes, message if you get it, and in case if you don't, please help yourself. So for hers it's yes, please, and do not get confused. If it is not very much okay for you, let me know. Alright, so the client side software is kubectl. Okay, wonderful. So I can get only 3-4 messages. Okay, there is a stream delay. Alright, now if you want to install kubectl in your any of the machine, so just type kubectl install in the browser, and you will get that first link, that is kubernetes.io, and you can click here. Okay, what you can do is you can choose your own OS. You want to install on Linux, Windows, and Mac. So let's say if you want to install in Windows, they will give you the exe file. Okay, this is for PowerShell. You can hit this command directly on PowerShell, and then you can just use that. Otherwise, you can also use a kind of exe file, right? So they will be having. So I hope you will be very much familiar with the PowerShell. So you can use PowerShell to install on Windows based system. okay, from here, or you can just go here to find out the right version of Kubernetes, that is table 1. So you can use this link. See, it's Kubernetes kubectl.exe. So what I'm doing is I'm sharing this link, although you will be watching this video, so you can use the same. Still I'm sharing this link on the chat window. This is for Microsoft Windows based people who are using that Windows server. Okay, now moving up, if you want to install in Linux, click here. Okay, use this command to download it. So it will be downloading Minikube here. So it's around I think 70 or 100 MB file, I don't know, 50 to 70 MB, 50 MB file, that is here. So what you have to do, you have to move this file kubectl to your Linux path, CUSR bin. Definitely you have to move there. Okay, and once you move to there, you need to give executable permission. But in Windows, if you install exe file, it will be automatically done. So this is how you have installed Minikube. Okay, sorry, kubectl. Okay, now once kubectl is done, so I'm just using this setup. So what is the case here? You are having your Windows 10 or Linux, and here Minikube is running in the OS itself, and here you have kubectl as well. So it is automatically connected, auto connect. You don't have to download any file or anything, because these all in the same host. So if I want to check is it connected or not, I can type kubectl version command. See, if I get my client version is this and my server version is this. If you are getting this output, so you can see here kubectl Kubernetes version 1.18, and that is the most recent and updated version of Kubernetes. Okay, so I hope it will be very much easy to understand that what version of Kubernetes server we are using, that is 1.18. You can check here, and the Golang version they are using 1.13.8, compiler is GC, and the commit version as well. Okay, anyway, but this is the basic command to check the version of Kubernetes client, and it's quite similar to Docker version actually. See, in Docker version also have client version and server version. Okay, no worries. So now if I want to check how many nodes are there, so let me tell you what are the nodes. Nodes means those machines, either master or worker. So if it is your master, this is your minion 1, minion 2 and minion 3. So we call them nodes. Okay, in case of Minikube there is only one, and the single machine is working as a master and the same machine working as a minion. But in real cluster we can get number of. Okay, so if I show you by kubectl get nodes, you will be able to hit that command only when you are able to run this version command and you are getting this version. Then kubectl get nodes. See, I'm able to see that my name is Minikube and I'm in ready condition. I'm master. I'm running since last 12 minutes, and the version of Kubernetes is 1.18. Okay, so make sure, I think I'm not going fast, right? It's really very important if you want to be a DevOps engineer. Then let me tell you, DevOps is all about Kubernetes these days. You know what? Try to read the news. 60% or more than 60% developers are writing code according to Kubernetes. Okay, so you cannot skip this technology. So please pay attention. Try to watch this video again and again. Alright, so I hope you are understanding the nodes. Nodes means those VM or those machines where Kubernetes cluster is running, and that's how we can get it. Okay, so if you are understanding this very much, okay, then say yes in the chat window that yes, you are understanding it, and I'm also not going fast. My pace is also cooled. Okay, so share your reviews here in the chat window. You are understanding nodes, kubectl, and pace is also cool, or do I need to make it faster or slower? So for Chinmay it's yes. Okay, great. Alright, now we have a lot of things to know. Let me tell you one more thing. So for example, what I'm doing, I'm also launching a cluster of Kubernetes, although it's already running in my master node, right? So I'm just logging here, and I'm just logging here. Okay, I'm going here, by the way, and I have already configured this Kubernetes cluster, and you can see here Kubernetes master, minion 1, minion 2 and minion 3, they all are running. So I'm also going to show you, if the cluster is running for some customer, how you can check that and how you connect a cluster that is running outside your PC. Okay, so it means if you're not using Minikube, definitely how you're gonna connect. So that part I am gonna show you. So it will take 1, 2 or maybe 3 sessions to understand it well. See, so if you have kubectl, Minikube is auto connect. Okay, but you have cluster in a remote location, let's say on Amazon or on Azure, anywhere, even in another OS, right? So this is your OS and Minikube is also here, but how to connect this one? So that's why what I'm doing, I'm just starting this cluster. Okay, so I don't have to worry about any of the minion node, I have to worry about this master node. Okay, because if you remember, in remote cluster, if we have master, this is my Kubernetes master, then master has the main and primary component called kube API server. Okay, and kube API server is the only component that you can connect from here to there. Okay, so if anybody want to connect with Kubernetes, either master or anybody. So the only point of contact we have Kube API server. That means it is a point of contact. But this service will not allow you to connect on Kubernetes master until unless you are not giving or you are not authenticating yourself. Okay, so if you are not authenticating yourself, it will not give you anything. Okay, so how you authenticate yourself? So Kubernetes cluster have some username password stored. So that username password I can download. And how I can download? So let me open my another terminal, wget http://admin.conf. see, this is my master IP. Okay, and if I'm hitting it enter, see, it got downloaded and the file name is admin.conf. So in this file we have a lot of details, client certificate, username, password, everything we have, right? But in this file the IP address is private. See, it's a private IP. So because Kubernetes is using also private IP on the Amazon cloud, so I need to change that IP to this one. Okay, this one. You don't have to do this every time. It depends that how you are actually deploying the cluster. Now see, if I use kubectl get nodes, it will connect to my minikube. But if you use kubectl get nodes --kube config and the file name, so this option will be used to give the file name where any other Kubernetes authentication details are there. See what happened is, so now I have 4 nodes. This is master, this is worker. We have 3 minions and 1 master, and that's the same thing. See, 1 master, minion 1, minion 2 and minion 3. And if I do even Kubernetes version, okay, so I'm getting it 1.18 by this. So you know what, the main thing you have to understand in Kubernetes client side, if you have Kubernetes cluster 1, you have another Kubernetes cluster 2, you have cluster 3, and you have minikube also, and this is your OS and this is you. So every cluster will have its own authentication file, authentication 1, authentication 2 and 3, and minikube also. So if you use kubectl command directly, it will by default connect to this if you have something like minikube. But rest you can pass these files to connect to any Kubernetes cluster. So like see, I have this file downloaded, so I can always use this. But if I replace this file, I will be connecting to local. If local is present, then if local is not present, you won't be able to. Okay, so that means one kubectl command can be used to connect many Kubernetes cluster from a client side. So if you also understood the logic, make sure you are understanding it very well. Do not say yes until you are not understanding. Rhythm, no one can download the file because I have given that file for free. Otherwise Kubernetes cannot give that. Okay, so please type yes in the chat window if you understood the logic of Kubernetes client and its connectivity with other servers. Yes, very much. And please make sure in the interview that I'm planning very soon, I'll be calling in a group and will ask these kind of questions to you. Okay, so your next exam is going to happen in that way. So you will be appearing for Kubernetes examination, and then you'll be having your own Kubernetes file in the same way. Okay, wonderful guys, very much cool. Fine, so now time for how we are going to deploy an application. So see, as of now, this is you, and you have integrated your code with Docker file, and then by a product you created Docker image here. Okay, you created Docker image here. Okay, now to make this image publicly available, what you have done, you have supplied that or pushed that image on Docker Hub. Okay, that part I hope you are understanding it very well, and you all are doing it in your own OS. Until now you have used Docker command. Now what you did, you deployed Kubernetes cluster. Okay, it doesn't matter, in reality Kubernetes cluster will be outside, but for now in your cases it is here, so it really doesn't matter, but it is here, right? So now the same engineer or any other engineer can use kubectl command to use the Docker image and deploy that application here. Okay, so you push the image over there. Now the same image you can use to deploy your application either there or there. Alright, now this is also very much easy. I think this is very much easy to understand. So always build the source code by Docker and deploy in Kubernetes. So I can say Docker is more very much more relevant to building the image, right? Almost nobody using Docker to deploy your application in Docker host. Okay, because we discussed about the fact we want auto scaling, reliability, security, downtime, everything we want, right? So the right place is to deploy your application in the Kubernetes nodes, not in the Docker machine. Okay, so but we have to understand here, see, if you have this OS where you are running Docker engine, right, and you have Docker image and you want to test locally, so you can create container by run operation. So from Docker image we create container. But if the same way you have OS and you have Docker engine running, now on top of Docker engine we have Kubernetes running. Okay, so in short, if you have this Docker image, you are not allowed to create container using this Docker engine. Okay, now what you have to do, you have to connect here with the component of Kubernetes master, and even with the master kube API server. Okay, now this Kubernetes will be connecting to Docker engine. Now this Docker engine will use the Docker image to create container. Okay, so now you cannot. Now you need to connect with Kubernetes, and Kubernetes will connect to Docker engine. Then it will be created by Docker only, and then the same container will be managed by Kubernetes. So as I told you, Kubernetes cannot create container. Container will be created by Docker engine. But once the container got created, who will manage it? Because of all those big reasons, security, auto scalability, downtime, and many more things. So if you are understanding this also, then say yes in the chat window. It's very easy, although I don't know, but I think must be. Waiting for your response. Okay, no, okay, not okay, yes, okay, cool. Okay, so there is a lot of delay between my question and your answer. Anyway, I get one yes by Harsh, then Chinmay, then Neha. Okay, you guys are so smart. ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि हर बात पे हाँ बोलना ही है. I mean, I think I should plan an interview for Docker and Kubernetes both, because ऐसे क्लास के टाइम पे हो सकता है समझ में आता हो, but when you really come to that picture, तब कुछ समझ में आएगा. Okay, fine. So don't know. What is don't know? Okay, so let me plan this weekend. Anyway, so I'm announcing this from today onwards, and what is the announcement? This Sunday we'll have Kubernetes plus Docker practical exam. Okay, and Saturday I'll be choosing 10 people on Zoom call for interview, that how good you are doing, and those 10 people I'll be choosing randomly from email address. So that email ID shared by Piyush and Harsh. Don't worry, assignment will be there, because once what the first thing is, you need to understand Kubernetes first very deeply, and that job is going to be done today. From tomorrow onwards you will be having so many assignments, so many tasks. Okay, so anyway, Ansible exam I'll also take, but the first priority is Docker and Kubernetes. Ansible is not that much important. Jenkins will reconnect in Kubernetes section, but as of now everything is Docker and Kubernetes, mainly Kubernetes, right? Okay, fine. So now I think this will be very much easy. So fine, so here we are going to introduce a new keyword, like I can say Docker is creating container. So we are saying if we have Docker image, we are creating container by Docker. but the scenario is going to change if we have Kubernetes and we have again Docker image, and we will be creating something, and that something is not container, so we call it pod. Okay, so that means Kubernetes will be creating pod. Now pod is very similar to container, but in the word of Kubernetes we are calling it pod. So we create pod from Docker image, and that pod has your application running. Okay, so your pod is having that application running. Fine. Now let's understand what exactly pod is. So to understand it, let's go to the ground level. We are having OS, then we are having Docker engine running, then we are having Kubernetes cluster running. Okay, now a Kubernetes administrator will connect to Kubernetes server by using kubectl. Now this Kubernetes engine cannot create container, so I can just tell you Kubernetes cannot create container, it can manage and maintain. So what Kubernetes need, it need any of the container runtime engine like Docker or Podman or something. So when you want to deploy your Docker image in Kubernetes cluster, Kubernetes is connecting to Docker engine, and what Docker engine is doing, it is using this image to create container. Okay, but this journey is very small. That means Docker is just creating container. Now you know that container need IP address, container need MAC address, container need resources like CPU, RAM, storage, and many more things. So in this case Kubernetes is connecting to Docker engine and saying, please do not assign any of the things like that. Don't assign IP, MAC, resources. That we will do. So Docker is just creating container, that's it. Rest, IP address, MAC address, resources, and many more things, it will be assigned by Kubernetes. So that's why we are calling it pod. So when I say pod, pod is having container, and on top of it we have IP, we have MAC, we have resources, we have many other details, right? So in short, we are just applying a wrapper on top of pod. Your application is still running in the container, but why we are calling it pod? Because we have some additional stuff that is given by Kubernetes. Okay, Minikube kubectl Harsh, it is connecting to Minikube cluster directly, like Minikube SSH or right, and kubectl can connect to any cluster, like either it is Minikube or any other. Okay, alright guys, so if you are understanding that pod also, I don't know, but if you are understanding it, why we are saying it pod, because few percentage is maintained by Docker, Yukta, that is provided by those component Remember calico or flannel in the video first. So pod cannot provide. Pod will be using that bridge that was created by calico or flannel, that networking component we discussed that day. Okay, that is very obvious rhythm, very obvious, and you should have some very much questions. Okay, so first of all, just say yes or no or partially yes that you are understanding pod, because till the time you are not understanding pod, you won't be able to deploy application. Okay, so okay, let me give another example. Okay, I think this example you can relate it. Okay, so let me give another thing, another example to understand pod. So I'm just coming out of Docker and Kubernetes. For example, you know what, there is a cloth factory in Ahmedabad, right? And they guys are creating very beautiful cloths, like they create t-shirt, they create shirt and so many things. Okay, now there is a local distributor that take these shirts and sell it on a local market. So we are calling it normal shirt. Okay, now there is a big distributor, let's say US Polo or Zara or many brands. They guys are also purchasing cloths, shirts from here. Okay, now after purchasing they do a lot of changes. They change the tag, then they repack it, do some finishing, blah blah, boom boom. Now from today onwards it's not shirt, it's the Jara shirt, right? It's not shirt, it's the Jara shirt. So there is a difference between shirt and Jara shirt. So these additional flavors is done by Kubernetes, and they are saying it pod, and this direct image created by Docker, we are calling it container. Few part you are understanding. Pod is not interface. I think this example, I don't know, I'm trying something very weird, but if you are understanding it, please say yes or no maybe. Okay, so there is a difference, Jara shirt and normal shirt. Sarah, okay, yes or no? Good. Okay, so a bit of, better feeling. I cannot say totally you are getting it, but a better feeling. Okay, exactly. So actually this is the real story. I have one of my friend in my current location, but so they told me the same thing. So this is really actual story, right? So like no company like Zara and US whatever it is, they're not making shirts, they are purchasing it from local vendor, then redesigning it something. Okay, Alright, so you have to design pods. So in short, if you are this engineer, your application will be running in pod. So from today onwards, when you say Kubernetes, you mean pod. So where your application will be running? In the pod. Likewise, if you had your app in the word of Docker, you set it container. Okay, you know how to create container, Docker run blah blah bloom bloom, and here Kubernetes, how we are going to do that, that is a different story, but the application will be running in the pod. Now that is different point. The pod has container and so many extra information. That is the management of Kubernetes, why they are creating like that. So this thing you will be getting later on, after 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions. It will take time to feel the same, but anyway, right. So now how we are going to create a pod in Kubernetes? See, so how to create pod, and it's really very simple. See, you can compare with Compose. Okay, what you did, you use either yet another markup language or JSON language. Here also pod you can write in either YAML language or JSON language. Okay, preferably definitely will be using YAML, but I'll be showing you one JSON example as well. Okay, that depends on your complete JSON knowledge. Okay, now in Compose we create a file, so in pod also we also create a file. But if you remember, the Compose file has some predefined parameter, like we had version, then colon version, then we have services, then so many services, then we have volumes, we have networks, and many more likewise. Okay, so something like this, if you remember that Compose thing, we have that. Okay, so if you want to design a pod or anything in Kubernetes, that anything we'll discuss later on, you have the same pattern like Compose file. So you need to create a file in YAML or JSON. Here the first thing will be API version colon the version name. Then you have to write kind. Then you have to write metadata. Then I have to write specification. So colon and the values. Okay, so just fix this thing in your mind. When you say you want to deploy anything in Kubernetes by creating pod or by anything that will run in future, you need only these things. 4 keyword, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now there is no dependency of name. So the difference is, here we have to give the name like Doc or Compose, but here whatever name you can give, it doesn't matter. Name is not a problem here, but these are the keywords. Okay, so now how we are going to create a pod, that thing I think it's very much easy to understand, although it will take some time, maybe 1 day or so, to understand these keywords, but these are the only 4 keywords that you have to remember. Okay, so if this suits you very well, I mean it's all fine till now. You can type जी हाँ sir, बहुत अच्छा, सब सही चल रहा है. I mean yes. Alright. So waiting for your response. Just type it on the chat window. Okay. So for rhythm it's yes, all good for Harsh. Great. So Geetika, Neha, rhythm. Okay. Fine. बिल्कुल. So now let's create a pod file. First pod. Okay. So now I'm gonna create my first pod. Let me what I'll do, because this Kubernetes is really very important, so I'm gonna create a git repo for you. So I'll be pushing all the commands and nice, Shubham, wrap check, wonderful. So K8S summer 2020, right? And okay, so I'm just creating this repo so that I can put all the data here, and let me clone it and K8S here. So I'm going to create my first pod file. First of all, you can give any name to the pod file. So I'm giving it like Ashutoshh pod1.yml. Any name you can give, either yml or .yaml, it's all fine. Okay, so I'm giving it like that. Now just to understand the same, let me give it here. Understand the same, what I'll be doing, I'll be just creating this here. The first thing is API version. Now make sure API version has V capital colon, and I'm having the second is kind, the third one is metadata, and the fourth one is specification. So these are the top n keyword, 1 2 3. Now the version of Kubernetes is v1, kind is pod with P capital, right here, P is caps. Okay, now see, so metadata is for some info about pod. Let's say name Ashutoshh pod1. So this is my pod name, like container name in Docker. Okay, and now under specification you have to write about container. Now you know the YAML, right? You have to maintain one indentation, one space, then keyword, then again space, and likewise. I hope you are pro in YAML. Then I'm giving here one space. So the keyword is containers. Okay, so here I have to write about my Docker image and container info. See, so under image I'll come here and I'll just start with this. Okay, this array. Let's say I'm giving a name keyword Ashutoshh container 1. This is name of my container. Okay, now image. Let's say I'm taking Nginx. image from Docker Hub. Okay, do not get confused. Kubernetes will only pull the image from Docker Hub. It will not take it locally. Okay, now that's it. Boom. So this is the most simplest pod file here. Now don't worry how you will be remembering that is the version is v1 and pod is p capital, containers is a keyword, name is a keyword, image, okay, I think image has image, okay, image is a keyword. So you don't have to worry about it at all. Within 2 or 3 days you will be able to remember all these keywords, and that is my guarantee to you. Okay, so you don't have to worry about this. Yes Piyush, they are different, they are very different. I have just given this reference to understand, but it's a double please from my side, double please, it's a please and please do not ever compare this. It was just my way because I taught you that compose, so it was just for comparing. It's not comparable. This is potty, this is amazing. Okay, so don't even compare. Alright, so this is my first pod file. Okay, so are you understanding it a bit? Cool. So just type yes message in the chat window if you are understanding it, that yes, pod file is really the cool and very small example. This is the most smallest thing, right? I can say the most smallest unit in Kubernetes is this. Right? Great. Now समय है pod को deploy करने का. So we have written the pod file, and now I can deploy this pod in my Kubernetes cluster. See, so how do I do that? Kubectl create -f and the file name. See, boom, hitting enter, pod got created. Okay, how do I check? Get pods. See, this pod is in container creating state. I can keep checking like that. It may take some time because it will download that nginx image first. Okay, oh my god, the pod is running now. We requested for a single container, we get one. The pod name is right here. Okay, and you know what the most beautiful thing is? If you want to deploy it in my Amazon Kubernetes, just supply --kube config admin.conf. okay, I think okay, so kube config, and it is my home fire admin.conf. see, yeah, voila, wonderful. See, if I will show you now, get pods, it is running 13 seconds ago. Ashutoshh pod 1 running. This is my 2 days ago, some weird pod, but so don't you think it's so cool, right? Just supply that configuration, authentication file, and you can deploy your application in locally in cluster 1, cluster 2, so many places. Isn't it cool? Please type cool message for this feature of Kubernetes. Yes, so okay, So this is one thumbs up like. Okay, all right. So you know what, we need to discuss a lot of things about pod and how exactly this is happening. Okay, now one more thing you have to do today, not for me, not for Adhoc, not for you, it's for Kubernetes. Okay, so just in your LinkedIn account, write a post, I love Kubernetes. Okay, I love Kubernetes, and please put some amazing hashtags on your LinkedIn, not in Instagram or somewhere, right? Because whatever you are learning, make a post with some project and some videos. Yes, you can link my YouTube video also for some internal promotion, but I love Kubernetes. Put some good picture of Kubernetes and have fun. Okay, so fine. Now we have a lot of things to be discussed, but that we are not going to do today. So at least you need to watch this video to understand the terminology, pod, and so many things. Then oh my god, the internal process, you need to wait for few more sessions, right? Okay guys, so thank you so much for your time and have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Have fun. Okay, thanks to all. So watch this video, Kubernetes video 1, video 2, you have to watch it at least 2 times. So watch this video 3 times, watch this video 2 times. This is more important, where you will be having the internal understanding few. If you watch it for 3 times and you understand the component, tomorrow we'll be discussing about internal of K8s in too much detail, right? But you need to watch this video 3 times and then 2 times second video. If you will be able to do that, trust me, we'll rock it tomorrow, right? Not exactly. No, delete it, just delete it. So if you want to kubectl get pods, you can just kubectl delete pod and the pod name. Okay, simple.